It goes in the order of deal, then debt, then equity every single time. You stack the relationships, and again, you can do that over a game of pickleball. I make 10 calls a week, and I try to get one coffee meeting every weekend, which means I will meet 52 owners in the time everyone else is saying, oh, no one's going to pick up the phone.
A billionaire told me once, the trick to real estate is... What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs today in the studio. Folks, I got a real treat for you. Christian Osgood in the house. What's going down?
Here we go, Brad. Good to be here.
You ready to drop some bombs?
Dude, I'm always ready to drop some bombs.
Folks, this dude had nothing, not even very long ago. How long ago?
Gosh, 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Like
now you got
$10,000.
Now you got 300 and some doors?
Yeah, 300, maybe 325. I got to recount them again, but over 300 doors.
Yeah, that's why I want to talk to you, because like there's a lot of people out there that keep hearing about this real estate. You think it's too late to get into real estate? You think the wave is past?
No, not at all. Especially the next few years. There's a lot of people who are going to get wiped out, I think, in the next few years. You have a lot of debt maturing. Interest rates are still a lot higher than they were. I think there's still a lot of opportunity coming up here in the next few years.
Yeah, you know, my uncle owned real estate way back in the day. I remember being a kid, and he owned an apartment complex, and I was like, you know, it wasn't a very nice one or big one, but he owned it, and I was like, you know, why would you own that?
Yeah.
Little did I know, dude, I should have been starting back then.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was it always good? And is it always going to be good? Because a lot of people think, well, now the wave's passed only because it got real popular in the last maybe, 5-10 years?
Yeah.
So everyone's like, yeah, everybody's in that now. There's no deals to be had. What would you say to them?
Dude, there's deals everywhere. Maybe in some of your major metros, it's just too competitive. People buy properties just to own them, park money. But I mean, you go an hour out of any major city, there's tons of opportunity out there.
And what I want to do today is let the listeners start from nothing.
All right.
Okay.
Let's do it.
If they already know what they're doing, they can just wait until we catch up.
Okay.
But I want to talk to all the people in the freaking audience that are not doing real estate, because I think obviously real estate is a hell of an investment. I think you got to invest in order to get wealthy. Mm-hmm. You first have to have a little bit of money in order to invest, or can you start with nothing?
You can absolutely start with nothing.
Now, you said I started with nothing, and then I said, you had nothing? And you said, well, 10,000. 10,000, dude, there's a lot of people without 10 G's in their pocket.
That's true. If you're going to buy an apartment complex, say it costs $2 million, $10,000 doesn't do anything.
Yeah. And not only that, I mean, you can bust your ass for a couple summers and save 10 grand.
Yeah. Well, you sure in hell aren't spending your last 10 grand to buy a building, because then you're going bankrupt before you actually get the thing rolling and cash flowing.
So when you started with nothing, all you had was 10,000?
Yeah, I had about 10,000 in a bank account. I had
How was your credit?
House. Credit was excellent. I did have excellent credit, though I never used it for my first 22 deals.
Okay, so what if someone's listening with 10 grand, but they got shitty credit?
Same exact game. Would not have affected any deal that I did whatsoever. I had zero credit checks. No one asked. No one cares.
Really?
Yep.
And the fact that you didn't have previous deals under your belt didn't matter?
Nope. You
didn't leverage someone else's track record?
Nope. Not that it doesn't get easier when you get a track record, but everyone starts from somewhere. It's kind of like getting a first job. Like, sure, you have to grind a little bit to do it, but once you have the experience, you have the experience. You can absolutely get in just by learning, doing a deal, learn as you go.
How old are you?
I'm 33.
You look younger.
Yes, success.
So that's why I want to start from zero, because there's people out there listening. They're like, you know, I want to, I've been thinking about it, but you know, I can't do it for this reason or that reason. And I want people to invest. Real estate's a great vehicle. So let's start at zero.
Perfect.
So I have nothing.
Okay. I
can borrow 10 grand from my grandma.
Okay, but that won't help.
That won't?
No.
Well, you started with 10 grand.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't use it, though, to buy into the real estate. That was just what I had to live on. I didn't have any money in the bank account.
Okay. So I got nothing.
So you got nothing. You got no access to anyone, and you don't want to borrow from your family, which I recommend against.
Yeah. So I literally am listening to this podcast.
You got $0.
And I'm just a regular Joe.
All right.
Working a 9 to 5, barely staying alive.
So here's where most people get lost. They start with the money. They go, I don't have the money, so I can't buy the real estate or whatever. This works for business or anything else, too.
I'm that guy. Like, dude, there's been many a times I should have got into real estate, but I thought, dude, I had money, but it wasn't disposable.
Yeah. So I'm
like, well, I'll wait till I get some disposable.
Yeah.
And then I always have this, I can't because of this. So that's why I want to start from zero. So that's a lot of people, what you just said. So what should they do?
People think that the money enables you to do the deal. It goes in the order of deal, then debt, then equity every single time. Equity is the money you bring to the table to close the deal. It could be borrowed, it could be with a partner, it doesn't matter. But it goes in that order. You have an opportunity that is going to make money. Out of that opportunity, it's like people go in it without anything to sell, and they're like, well, I need to raise the capital first. It's like, raise the capital for what? You don't have a deal. It's like going to market with no product, being like, one day I will have a product, and I want you to invest now. That would be hard to do.
Okay, so finding the deal.
Yeah, finding a deal. Google Maps, free online. You can drive any market in the country. Really easy to find anyone's contact information. That's free as well.
How is it so easy?
So you can go public record like GIS data or partial viewer maps. So you find a property. If you're looking for multifamily specifically, you look for big roofs in residential areas, and because zoning codes, there'll probably be a lot of other apartments right next door. You simply find the building, plug that address into whatever your county's data source is, and it will show you who owns it. If it's an LLC, there's other free searches. You can figure out who filed the LLC. You reach out and you map the people who've already done the thing that you want to do. That's step one to anything you want to do. Find the people who've already done it. So I networked with a whole bunch of owners in the markets I wanted to buy in, and I let them know. I don't have a portfolio yet. You do. My wife had just broke her back in being an elementary school teacher. She got pushed down the playground. So I was like, I have a specific goal, trying to retire my spouse. I'm realizing one duplex at a time is not going to do this. I need to buy bigger. You've already figured this out. Can I take you out to coffee and figure out what the heck you did? Those are most of the people who ended up funding my deals. They sourced most of my deals. I didn't ask anyone to sell a property to me for my first 3 years of buying. Not one person. It was always their idea. I communicated what I'm trying to do. I learned from them. They'd call me a few months later. Hey, deal's too small for me. It's not right. You said you don't have any money. I have an idea on how you take this out. They built the business for me because they've already built the business.
Yeah. So walk me through that. I gotta go. Like I drive home and I see apartment buildings on the way home. Should I be looking at shit holes or should I be looking at class A?
I found that I want to network with the people who are winning the game. Now, class A, some people will overpay for properties to have a sexy property. There's such a thing as a trophy property that you can overpay for. I also don't want to buy shitholes. I like B plus. If you have a C property that you can push to a B, I like fun projects. What I don't want to do is buy a shitty property. I don't want to be a slumlord. That's not interesting to me at all. Like,
so you want a decent apartment
There's
building.
a lot of businesses that you can do. Don't do a shitty business. Like, don't be a slumlord. There's no reason.
But if it's such a great asset, why are the people that own it willing to sell it?
First significantly sized deal I did, 38 units, Central Washington. They were in their 80s. They've been trying to sell this thing for 12 years at the same price. It had a bad roof. This one was one that was beat up. It had a bad roof. They were struggling with collections. They were too old to run their property. And because the financials on the property didn't look great, a bank wouldn't lend. So your buyers for that, everyone who's rich enough to just write the $2 million check and buy it in cash, isn't interested in that hard of a project. They already have the money. They don't need to do that. Your mom and pop owners who own, a single family house or maybe a fourplex somewhere, they're not going to take out a 38 unit building. So your buyer pool is like nothing. The banks won't lend on it. The only way you would knock out a building like that would be seller finance. So all we did is I came together. We'd ask the sellers, what do you need? And they're like, well, we just want to retire on $10,000 a month and our building's not doing that for us. The simplest answer is always the right answer. If you're starting with no money, that's just your side of the equation. So I need cash flow. I don't have money. Their side is we want $10,000 and we want a $2 million price. Whatever the simplest answer for me to cash flow and increase my income and give them what they want, that's the answer. In this case, I needed 6 months of no payments after we closed to fix the collection problem so that we can afford to pay them $10,000 a month. That was the solution. No one had freaking asked the sellers what they actually need. You map it, was the easiest way to get there. Creative finance, which is how I did pretty much everything for my first 22 deals. It's what is the least creative answer to get from A to B? And the answer was, if I don't have any payments to compete with, I can pay you guys $10,000 a month. I need 6 months of time. I'm trying to sell it for 12 years. I was in high school when they listed this thing.
And they said, okay.
And they said, okay. They also didn't believe we'd close it because no one else closed it. Everyone drops out of contract. We went all the way through. We closed it, bought it for $2 million. It appraised for 4.2. A couple of years later, we fixed the collection problem.
Hold on, though. It appraised for 4.2 a couple years later?
Yeah, we got the income up. Fun thing with apartments.
So what was it worth when you bought it?
Oh God. You would argue that we overpaid for it because it was just not performing. It was a shitty property. That particular one was a bad property.
What made it shitty?
They had chickens running everywhere. Like it had a chicken problem, which is a very unique problem to have for an apartment building. We had 2 different tenants who were raising chickens in their units. It had one failed roof, bad septic system, and they had just solved a major homeless problem on the property. There's a developer that bought the adjacent property. They resolved that for us, which was fortunate. But it had a lot of problems. They were all problems that you could fix if you're someone without money and want to put in the work. And I knew on that building, there's at least $1 million of upside. To get that thing worth $100,000 per unit in that location, absolutely feasible. You just have to be willing to wade through the shit to get there. Now, the next deal I did was 6 units. They were turnkey. They were beautiful. They were 10% down, seller financed at 4% interest. That was someone who was just trying to get out of a partnership that they didn't want to be in. Like, I would love to sell these to you. It's a guy I already met with. So it's not just beat up properties. It's not just Class A properties, but it's looking at, again, it's deal debt equity. What is the deal in front of me? Am I interested in the project? Do I believe it will make money? What debt products are available? It's not always seller financing, but what debt product can I use? Right there, you have your opportunity and you have 75 to 100% of your money. Then you just have to find the last 25%. And on a deal like that 38plex, if you have $1 million to make, I guarantee you'll find the 300 down, even if you don't have it.
How'd you find it?
I called a broker who worked in an adjacent office to me, who had clients who specialize in small multifamily. So residential 2, 3, 4 units. I just asked him, do you have any clients who would like to buy bigger who don't have a deal? He gave me 4 names. We called 4 people. 3 of them put in $100,000. I'd never raised capital before. I had never met any of the people that I called. We raised 100% of the money in 1 day. Just gave him a call. Like, hey, this is a cool project. And I pitched it on how sucky the project. I was like, this thing is beat up. And when we fix it, this is what it's going to be worth. I just went through all of the problems. I'm like, this is why we're buying it. We have all these problems and we have a plan to fix them. And when we're done, here's our projected return. I love this deal.
So that sounds too easy.
That's what I thought too. I still could not believe when they handed me the keys to that thing. I was like, that was it. All I needed to do was ask someone what they wanted and then come up with a path to give it to them without sacrificing cash flow. So I kept that as my rule. I'm like, every time I buy a deal, it needs to pay me forever. My income needs to go up every single time. That's the only thing on my side of the equation. Long-term, cash flowing, fixed rate, debt. I don't want any variables. I just want to know these are my costs. Here's what I'm buying. It pays me from the get-go. Now let's start improving it, running it even better. And you give that a couple of years of seasoning, being a better manager than the last person, your building's worth more.
How long does it take to get the property in shape?
On that size building, I usually allocate for 24 months, especially if you have multiple.
Yeah, but that's a long ass time.
Yeah, it can be a long ass time. You're doing 5 or 6 at a time though, and they're each making $1 million. I mean, it doesn't suck, but you go through. I usually get through most projects. Our target is to get done in 90 days, which is typically what happens. If you have a large amount of rent bump though, you're going to have multiple phases. So it will take somewhere, generally speaking, 3 months to 2 years, depending on the size of the project and what you have to do to execute.
So if someone's listening to this right now in any town in the United States and they want to go out and buy a deal in the next 90 days, how many deals do you think they have to look at before someone's willing to do creative financing?
See, that's the thing. People go after the creative financing, which is basically like putting a sticker on your head that says, hi, I'm broke and I don't know what I'm doing. Like if you came to me and you're like, hey, I'm looking to buy a piece of real estate and I want to do it seller financed. If you start with a debt product, you sound insane. So I found I look at a few listed deals and I look for who owns the properties and you meet with them. You can do this in 30 days in any market in the country. And we've done this. And I've had students who have done this too. I had a 19-year-old. He's bought over 100 units in one town because he just spent 1 month meeting everyone in one town. If you do this and you map it out, I do 2 phone calls a day. Brief, hey, it's Christian, this is what I'm trying to do. You've done something I haven't done. How'd you get there? Get some momentum in the conversation. Close them on getting a meeting. You meet with them for coffee. You move from an outsider to an insider. That takes 30 days in any market. And I bought big cities, small cities, red states, blue states. Owned in Seattle, Houston. I'm in a little town called Stephenville, Texas, which is one of my favorite places to invest in the whole country. But it works everywhere. You can do this absolutely anywhere in the country.
All right. So for all the dumb people listening, break it down to where it's just plain as day. It's Saturday morning. It's 8:00 a.m. Get your ass up and go do what?
Get your ass up and find 2 freaking people that you can call. I don't even care if they...
Yeah, but how?
Find a property and find who owns it.
So do you have to get in your car, drive around and say, okay, there's one?
No.
Because like when I drive home, I see a couple of apartments and I always tell my wife, like, I want to own those.
Yeah.
And they're not like top of the line, but they're not shitty either. And they got great landscaping and they look pretty decent. And I'm like, I want to own those.
Yeah.
And she always says, well, then buy them. Yeah. And I'm like, I wonder how much they cost. And then I just keep driving. I don't do shit, but I'm going to be your guinea pig.
Yeah.
I'm going to get up on Saturday. I'm going to follow your steps.
Yeah.
What do I do?
If I'm looking at a market, I'm going to go
drive
it on Google, because that's going to save you a bunch of time. You just find the property that you're interested in. So
get on Google.
Yeah. Let's say I'm looking for 10 to 25 unit apartment building.
Okay.
I'm going to go find those buildings. I'm going to go into the county data, which is going to be a parcel map search. Type in parcel map and the word, whatever county.
You're saying parcel map.
Parcel, yeah. And so you'll actually click on the property parcel number.
Now you're getting somewhere, son. See, you kept saying get their names, like fucking how. So you go into Google and you type in parcel maps.
Yep.
Clark County.
GIS data. Yeah, exactly. Clark County.
Yeah, and then what comes up when you type that in?
A Google map that now has the parcels on it. And so you can click in on a property and say, hey, this is that property I just looked at.
Gotcha.
You'll come in, it will show you acreage, parcel number, who owns it. If it's an LLC, you take apart the LLC. And you can do this with anyone. It's super easy to get in with.
Are they usually LLCs?
I would say on apartments, if you're in the mid-size apartments, more often than not, but a lot of people own them in their own name. I'd say.
What's mid-size?
Mid-size is going to be 5 to 75 units.
What's big?
Big is 100 plus.
Okay, so I'm looking for, and what's the average cost per door?
It's going to wildly depend on what market you're in.
Let's say Vegas.
Las Vegas? See, I haven't looked at it over here in a while. Vegas is an interesting market.
See, I say that to Grant and I say that to everybody that knows real estate, and they're always like, I don't want to buy there. And it's like, dude, I don't want to buy something in Twin Peaks, Idaho, where I'm never going to be.
Yeah.
Like, I want to drive and see it and feel it.
Yeah. Vegas is an interesting one, though. This is one of those towns where people will overpay for real estate on the financials, because it's cool to own a property in Vegas. They're betting on the market long term. You have a city that is very, very business friendly. If you look specifically in Vegas at multifamily, all the buildings are highly levered for the most part. They trade often and they trade to big groups. So you're playing against a lot of institutional people in Vegas. It is hard. It's not that it's impossible, but Vegas is one of the harder markets to find a really good deal because other people will just overpay who have money.
Have you ever bought deals that you've never seen?
No, I would not.
You fly out no matter what?
Yeah, well, that's another reason not to buy small deals. It has to be worth the trip if you're going to buy out of area. Most of my portfolio is about an hour and a half drive from where I live. But now that I live in Texas, I have a Washington State portfolio and I have a Texas portfolio. I'm still flying up to Washington if we close a deal in Washington. I'm up there at the property walking through. I want to know what's going on. I've had so many people who just look at spreadsheets and they're like, oh, yeah, this is a good deal. And then they get a contractor in there and they fall through the top floor into the bottom floor because the building's a wreck. Especially if you're raising capital, how pissed would you be if someone's like, oh, I never went to the building. Bad news, Brad. We made a bad investment. Like, yeah, that would freaking suck.
Yeah, there's some chalk outlines in the building.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so fuck Vegas. What am I looking for?
You're looking for any market within... What I like to do is like, okay.
What if it's a town you want to like visit, like a lake?
Yeah. So the number one thing that you're looking for, what is our actual product? It's housing for humans. If you distill it all the way down, that's what we're after. Housing for humans. Is population freaking going up there? That's the number one thing that matters to me, is demand actually increasing. I don't want to invest anywhere. Yeah. Nashville, I'm outside of the DFW area. Population's going up like crazy. It's an excellent place.
Is there any source that'll tell me what the populations are doing?
Worldpopulationreview.com. I just like it because their opening slide is a graph of population growth. If it's trending like this, I'm like, good, this is probably going to be a nice place to live. Number two, I actually go to that area and I'm like, if I was in my tenant situation, could I imagine living here? There are some towns where they look good on paper. This goes back to like seeing your properties. They look good on paper. The deal looks good. You drive there and you're like, dude, I can't imagine any situation where I'd want to stay here. I don't want to rent places where people don't want to live because that's my demand. So I go to cool places that are awesome. Stephenville, Texas has a little college there called Tarleton. Happens to be the fastest growing college in the U.S. right now, part of the A&M system. It's just absolutely going off. It's 200 years of dairy industry there, so it has a background of a lot of culture. You have these awesome buildings. It's this really well-established little town, but there's only like 40,000 people there. It's not that big of a city. There's 5 or 6 other players buying most of the multifamily. It's not that hard in some of those markets to come in and be like, I love the city. I love what's driving it. I believe in the city. Population is backing what I'm saying. Let's go buy it up. And it doesn't take very long to become an insider there. That's one of the things you'll struggle with in Vegas. And granted, I've bought in Seattle. It's the same thing as Vegas. You can do it. But it's hard to become the guy of a big area. Like you'd have to take a ton of money to take out a sizable chunk of Vegas.
So I'm looking for little towns and a population of what?
I like to see population over 30,000 and up to maybe 150,000. Now you can still buy in a decently sized town. And a good deal is a good deal. I mean, if there's an amazing deal next to me in Dallas, I'm not going to say no. But I found you stack the deck in your favor if you're looking in areas where not everyone is trying to plummet, like just plunge money into.
Yeah.
And big cities, people will overpay to be in big cities. That's just, end of the day, that's what happens. Institutions want that.
Okay, so if I'm a beginner, though, I should be looking in populations of 30 to 150,000.
I think that'd be a great start.
So get on Google, boom, check it out. Eventually, I have to fly out there.
Within driving distance of yourself. You're looking for competitive advantage.
Yeah.
So
your
geography is an advantage. But if you're not getting traction there, choose 1 or 2 other markets. Don't look everywhere. Just pick a couple places you're like, I'm going to plant here. I'm going to find a property. It does not take that long. It's just not that hard.
Yeah, but for me specifically, I can afford to get anywhere I want. So like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just looking for 30 to 100. Like I said, I'm going to be your guinea pig, dude. Because I need to buy some shit quick. Like I should have bought some shit quick last year and the year before. And every time I write a check to the IRS, I think, fuck, I should have bought some property.
It does help.
And I'm doing it again this last year. So I'm going to make sure 2024 is the last year that I write big fucking tax checks to the IRS. Like if I just buy property.
Yeah.
I can save a shit ton on taxes and get the property and get the cash flow and get into the game.
See, you're in a unique position. Well, not unique, but you're in a different side of the equation, right? You're not starting with zero. You've built your business. Businesses. You have the capital where there's other people who are great deal finders. Like you can invest in other people. Like you should know what you're investing in.
Well, every time I say on the podcast or anywhere else, hey, I'm looking for deals.
Yeah.
I get hit up with all these deals, but like they're not that good.
What does not good look like?
Well, in my mind, they wanted, $16 million down. Like, dude, I'm not looking to invest $16 million in a fucking apartment for my first one. No. I want to buy the shit you're talking about. Dude, I want a little $2 to $5 million deal that's going to throw off enough cash flow to make it worth my while.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I don't mind putting a little money down, but like I like the seller financing option. Why? Because then I don't have to worry about if anything goes wrong because the sellers just get their property back. Don't they? Isn't that the deal?
Generally speaking, yeah.
Like I don't have to go.
There's exceptions to that, but generally that's the concept.
Well, I know that Grant taught me always do non-recourse.
I like non-recourse. There's some tax advantages actually. I won't get super into it because it's boring, but there's some tax advantages to doing recourse debt. But generally speaking, non-recourse. The property is the collateral for the property. It's clean, simple, easy.
And then the rest of your shit can't get crashed.
And if you have a lot of shit, you don't want to do that.
Right. And I don't want to risk anything because, dude, I'm green. Like, I don't know as much about multifamily as I probably should, but I want to learn. And people say, well, just give me the money. I'm good at it. It's like, I don't want to give you the money. I want to do it.
Yeah.
And, 3 to 5 years, I want to own 1,000 doors. Well, and by the time I die, I'd like to own like 10,000 doors to leave to the children.
Yeah. What people tend to do. A lot of people structure these as syndications where they're sourcing a lot of money from a lot of investors. They're putting together this, they're getting paid on the front end to buy it. They're just raising capital from everyone. I've structured every deal I've done as a joint venture. So it's me and like 2 other partners. Last deal I closed, 44 units. It's class, I'd call it B plus A minus. Has a clubhouse, pool, 2-bedroom units, beautiful courtyard, paved park, the stuff that you would expect. Really cool property. We bought it for $1.8 million.
That's it?
Steve will tell you, yeah. It was like $600,000. No, it was less than that. I think we put $400 total to close it. I have to go look at my numbers again. I should know this.
Yeah, see, I could own that myself.
Yeah.
I could own 10 of those myself.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. But I also don't want to get dicked.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude, you didn't understand. You should have called a freaking surveyor to come in and do a economic, and all of a sudden I'm sitting on something that's not worth anything, or there's no equity.
Yeah. In your position though, where time is the premium, like if you go learn a whole nother real estate business, that's taxing on your time because you're already making money. I would take a small team of people, have someone who is an operator and be like, hey, this is the person I'm going to invest with. And if you want to own the real estate yourself, put out a buyout option. You can just put it in your operating agreement and just attach, hey, for this price, fixed timeline, I have the right to buy you out based on our projections. You're happy, I'm happy. But I would work with an operator if you're trying to scale to 10,000 units. Put together a small team, be an actual partner, not a limited partner, like be on the team, but have someone who knows what they're doing so you limit your stupid tax, because the stupid tax sucks. If you do that one property, we're like, I didn't know this was a thing on the survey, or, oh, we checked this one box on the purchase and sale agreement, and now I'm dicked. Like, you want, in my opinion, if you're trying to scale fast, use another, like,
find someone who knows
partner
what
with an
they're doing.
operator, but actually partner with them. If you're just a limited partner throwing money at a deal, you're not involved.
Well, how about you?
Yeah.
I mean, you find a deal, let me throw some money in it, and like me and you can own it.
There we go.
You've already paid your stupid tax.
I've paid a lot of stupid tax.
What was the biggest stupid tax you've paid?
Biggest stupid tax I paid. So I identified myself early and correctly as like, I'm a creative finance real estate guy. Like, this is what I do. I can put together these deals. It's amazing. I'm not. I'm a value add multifamily. Like, I rock at solid, nice entry level housing. I don't like luxury housing. I will never be a slumlord. We do a great job on our buildings, but I'm really good at servicing like, hey, this is what this population needs. I'm going to invest in that asset class. We're going to provide housing. We bought a resort, seller financed for $4.5 million. And I borrowed like $1.05 million to close it. No, I think it will cost me $1.15 million. I have no one on that team who knows how to run a resort. It's a small enough resort where I bought myself a really crappy job. You lose all your profitability if you hire out a management team for it. And I was like, oh, shoot. I have this one awesome, beautiful seller financed asset, and it sucks. It was super expensive. And at some point, I won't be able to refinance it to, like I do all of my multifamily, to pay back or eliminate my investor. So I had to take the first $1.15 million I earned post-tax in cash. The first $1 million kind of sucks to get to for most people. That's the hard one. I had to immediately write it away to someone else, which is like that. That was brutal. So my stupid tax was right out of the gates. Hey, I'm a new entrepreneur, end of year one. Stupid tax, $1,150,000. Like, oh, that's expensive. We started with 10,000 the year before. That's not a fun one.
What could you have done to avoid that stupid tax?
What I could have done is work with literally anyone who is in hospitality. The same way I built multifamily. I met the people who've done the thing I want to do, and I took their advice, and I took their, each of their, say they've been doing real estate for 50 years. I was able to condense 50 years of knowledge into 2 years of work because they've already done it for me. On the hotel, I just had the arrogance of thinking like, oh, we're good at this. We already know what we're doing. It's our finance. I did the financials. I don't know anything about running a resort at all. And no one on my team did. So what ended up happening, the other 2 partners just lost interest in the deal. They went back to doing what they were doing. And now it's like, oh, well, we're either going to lose everyone's money, which is unacceptable, or someone has to figure out how to run a profitable resort. There's a bitch of a project where you're trying to build your other businesses that you actually want to be in. So that was an expensive, stupid tax.
How long does it take to store up some dough if you start with nothing?
If you start with nothing, it takes a second because you're going to take your first 2 years. You're going to reinvest everything you have back into the property. Biggest mistake I see new investors make, like the number one thing, they raise enough money to close the property. And they're like, hey, we'll fix it up or repair it out of cash flow. You take a 90-day project and it becomes a 3-year thing. It's like if you're trying to clean your house and you do it 1 room per day, your whole house is just always messy. There's that one stove blows your budget for your renovations. So you have to replace that. And then next month, wait for the money to regenerate. It's a terrible way to do properties. You come in, you buy cash flowing real estate, you raise enough if you need renovations to finish your entire project, rip it out, move forward.
So if I need $1 million down and I need $1 million to reno, I should raise $2 million.
Yeah, get to your $2 million. Probably put a little buffer on top of that to make sure. And if the deal doesn't work with that big of a raise, you know you don't have a deal. People try to force the deal to work by raising less. It's like, finish the freaking project. It takes so much time, and
how do you know how much rent you can bump because of these renovations?
So with that, the easiest way, it's back to meeting all those owners. I talk to the other people in the market. I know what people are renting for. I know who their property managers are. It takes all of 2 hours to pick up the phone and call a couple people, get in touch with the property managers. Be like, hey, I'm looking at acquiring this building. My analysis tells me rent's probably going to be around here. If you were leasing this up, how would you do it? Interview a couple people.
And they happily give you the information?
Yeah. I've never had any resistance to that.
Couldn't you just pretend you're going to rent an apartment right next door to the place and call them and be like, hey, how much is rent? And they're like $1,400 for such and such.
Yeah.
And then if you're smart, would you think, okay, I'm going to make mine $1,300 or do you go, does that matter?
So I'll look at it. I'll run a few different types of market analysis. The first one I look at, and there's a bunch of free trial sites you can do, like a rentometer. There's a lot of ways to check market data. For something like a rentometer, or actual rent checking site, it's all historic data. So you have to take that in mind. If rents are going up and you're looking at historics, then it's probably going to be a little low. I'll look at apartments.com or anywhere where they're listing apartments, and that's not historic data. That's asking. And so I'll say, okay, what are people marketing for? What have people placed leases at? It's usually somewhere between those two. So I get a pretty good range of what are people actually doing and marketing for in my market. Then I'll back that up by just asking the people who are actively doing it, what are you seeing for rent? I'm thinking it's going to be here to here. Am I out of my mind? Is this a bad idea? I had a property in Stephenville, Texas. Rents were $550 per door. My analysis told me we can get them to $850 easily. I interviewed 2 property managers. They disagreed with me. I interviewed 2 owners. They both said, hell yeah, you can get that. I was like, okay, I'm going to go with it. We have them all rented at $950 now. We almost doubled the income on that property. I've owned it for 13 months. We bought it for $1.6 million. It's worth about 2.8 today. It was just a deal where we got a great price because the income was low. That's where it financed with the bank. They said, here's the income. Here's what we can lend. Brought that back to the seller. Raised the capital for the down. That cost me exactly $0 out of pocket. And away we go.
How'd you raise the capital for the down?
I called someone who I met at pickleball, and he was like, hey, my businesses are doing well. I'm like, awesome. You want to toss $400 at this deal? He's like, oh, hell yeah.
See, it makes it sound so easy.
It is. It's not that it's easy. It's simple. Real estate has been around for a while. You may have noticed, one of the oldest businesses of all time. People do own properties. There's no secrets in real estate. Like the creative stuff, sure, there's stuff to learn and there's a lot of lessons or a lot of stuff you don't want to do. But it's all very simple. So as you play the game, you have 3 resources. I look at it kind of like a board game. You got cash flow, liquidity, and equity. Equity multiplies over time. You lose it if you don't keep enough cash flow and liquidity. Cash flow funds your properties and eventually funds your entire lifestyle. You have to keep all 3 in balance if you want to be rich in real estate. That's the end all. It's like Settlers of Catan, but way less resources. It's an easy board game.
What's the difference between equity and liquidity?
Liquidity is cash on hand. So that gets me through, hey, unexpected roof failure, waiting for insurance to come. I need to not get wiped out. You need to build the liquidity. If you start with none of them, you start with none of them. The beautiful thing about business and real estate, you can borrow anyone else's pieces. Like, there's lots of other owners who have been playing the game for a long time. They do have all those pieces. You stack the relationships, and again, you can do that over a game of pickleball. It's not It's not rocket science. Say words to people. Get around other humans. Don't be a weirdo. Or even if you are, I'd argue I'm probably kind of a weirdo.
So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back because I know that I went down the road and then I keep veering you down other roads. So I want to start again. So I'm new. I'm listening to this. I've been wanting to do it. Fuck it. This is this. This guy did it. I can do it. So I'm going to get up on Saturday. I'm going to Google, what was it?
Parcel map or GIS data.
Parcel map or GIS data. I'm going to start looking around. Bang, 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 bang. I find the owner. I call the owner, and do I say, do you want to sell your property?
No, I wouldn't. You can go two options. You can go for a relationship or you go for a transaction. You
relationship.
Can't do both. I go relationship. I have friends who make.
Yeah, but if you called me and you're like, well, I'm going for coffee, I'd be like, who the fuck are you?
Oh, no, I wouldn't open with that.
What would you say?
So if you own the building.
Yeah, I own the building.
I would reach out with something legitimate that is a relatable point that is not, hey, I'm trying to buy your shit, because I'm not. I actually want the relationship. I would call when I got started. I'd bought a couple of duplexes. Before I bought a bigger building, I had these 2 little units. My wife breaks her back as a kindergarten teacher. I am now trying to retire her, so I have a mission. My phone call was, hey, I'm reaching out about your property here. I just drove past it. It's 20 units. I'm actually your property neighbor. I own a tiny, tiny little building down the street. Let them respond, which is usually like, okay, so why the heck are you calling me? Like, I want to get to know the people who've actually built this business right. I'm trying to retire my wife, and I've learned that buying one duplex at a time out of saved income sucks. Like, I cannot scale fast enough. I worked for 8 years. I barely bought any real estate. I have no money left in my account. I have $10,000 left in there, a little piddly amount of cash flow. This didn't get me the freedom that was advertised, buying one rental at a time. I just want to talk to one person who has done the thing I want to do, and you were kind enough to pick up the phone for me. What does it look like to get to 20 units? Half the time, they'll say, I'm not selling. It's like, awesome, I don't have any money. I just spent less. Just bought the duplex. I'm out of money. That's not an issue. I've found about, it's a made up statistic, but it feels like about 75% of people, when you get to that point, it is a relatable thing. Most people in real estate are like, okay, you're starting your business. You've done a little bit of something. You have a clear goal. People in real estate like to talk about real estate.
But what if, again, to me, it's like, if I'm just doing that to secretly want to buy their business, or were you genuinely interested?
I genuinely want to know how they built their business.
See, I think you might have just got lucky.
Well, see, I would think that, except I did it in Central Washington. And then I did it in Western Washington in Mason County. And then I did it
same way?
Same way.
And now you're teaching all these students how to do the same thing?
Yeah.
And they're doing it?
My buddy Caleb moved into a market. He's the 19-year-old. He had like $300. He did it. I don't recommend this, by the way, but he did his earnest money for his deal on a credit card. Like, he had no money. He's like, I'm just going all in. It's like, I'm just going to go, we'll lever up. Let's get it done. He closed 4 deals in his first year, got to like 28, 29 rentals, scaled to over 100 the next year. He met every single owner of note in the town he's investing in. He lived in San Diego. He's buying in Texas. We had, in the last month, or like this month, since the first, we had one of our best weeks ever in my group. We had 6 people buy their first apartment complex. A lot of them were small, like 6 to 15 units. We had 3 the next week, 3 the next week. We're off to a really good start. It was a good month for it. I don't want to say like everyone just always buys a billion deals all the time, but a lot of people are buying all over the country. And we've seen it this month: New York, Florida, Oklahoma, Texas, California, which isn't all that common because California's hard to play in. And we've seen 2 in Washington. Both coast, middle of America, it works everywhere. It's just not that complicated. There are a lot of people who have these small to mid-sized properties. It's just like buying a business. There are a billion podcasts on people seller financing their businesses. Boomers are getting out of the market.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You have a bunch of people who are in the 70s, 80s. They've amassed huge portfolios of mid-sized properties. A lot of them are just like, hey, I'm looking for an exit plan.
Okay, so I call the guy and I say, hey, Willie.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to get into real estate and I really don't know how. Can we grab a coffee and let me pick your brain or something?
I would space that out a bit. I wouldn't just go for the kill. That's like, that'd be an awkward first date, right? And you'd usually start some conversation, but I would have some relatable point in there. For me, it was retiring my wife. It's whatever it is for you. Everyone should map out their story. I did this on a whiteboard. I just took all the things I've done, like soccer, college, first job, worked in advertising.
This is what you're teaching your students to do.
Yeah. You map it all out so you have a relatable point, and you'll figure out what really flows for you.
Yeah.
That was true for me in the beginning. It just has to be true. I have a duplex. I would like to be larger, and the reason I'm trying to get larger is I actually have a legitimate, like, I am trying to retire a spouse from a job that sucks. She just got done teaching kindergarten during COVID.
But how can I say that? Because I already have money, and so I'd be lying.
Yeah, so in your case, hey, I've built a bunch of businesses. I've been really successful across multiple industries. I haven't cracked real estate yet.
What if they're like, dude, you're Brad Lee, I follow your ass.
There we go. It's like, oh, awesome.
So really what you're saying is, reach out, build a relationship, have a conversation. But I thought I was trying to buy their shit.
I've found most of the time they refer me to someone else's shit that I buy.
So ultimately,
I want relationships. I want the resources that they've already acquired. And I actually do want to learn from them. My lenders, my property managers, my team, a lot of my employees, they all came from people who built the business I want to build.
Yeah. So really what you're saying is what I preach all the time. It just took me a while to understand really what you're saying is, go out and put the relationship first. Start getting to know some property owners, some people in the industry, start, being genuine and real. And dude, they deals come up.
Here's the difference. If you go after transactions, like everyone is, you have to build a call center, or you have to be sitting there on an auto dialer making 500 calls a day. Like, you just have to grind to find a deal. You can do it. Lots of people do it. Lots of people make lots of money doing it. Relationships, I have never deviated from this. I left a sales job where I did that for years and years and years. All I do for relationships, 2 calls a day, don't care if they answer or not. If they don't, message a mystery if they don't. Hey, it's Christian. Question for you. Call me back. Because I'm only calling 2 people a day, when Bob calls me back, I know who the heck's calling me back. I'm like, oh, Bob, thanks for calling me back. You have that 25 unit building. I'm not selling it. Good. Couldn't buy it if I wanted to. That's all it is. And it's
but you would think you wouldn't get a lot of people willing to open up and establish a relationship.
I make 10 calls a week, and I try to get 1 coffee meeting every weekend, which means I will meet 52 owners in the time everyone else is saying, oh, no one's going to pick up the phone.
Another thing,
52 people. That's a lot of people to know in the market.
I like the technique, but let me, and it's my kind of technique. Cause again, I mean, like, dude, I've procrastinated this long. I don't need to buy their building. I might as well just freaking get to know them. But can somebody do this that's busy, but they're willing to put in a Saturday and a Sunday? Yeah. Or is this no, you're going to have to put in way more time.
I would never say dive into any business without taking time to learn the business. There should be a time, be it 30 intense days or 90. You should understand, when I am looking at a deal, I am freaking confident that this is a deal. You need to know your numbers. Like any other business.
It's just numbers though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just numbers.
Like give me the rent roll, and I'll tell you if it's a good deal. As long as I got a mortgage calculator, because all I'm going to do, tell me if I'm wrong. Here's what I would do. I'd look at what they want. I'd determine, what the, down payment and everything has to be, and what my debt service is going to be. And then I look at the rent roll. If the debt service is 60% or less of the rent roll, it's a deal.
I mean, you want to go a little deeper than that, but I would like to see some of their actual expenses. But if you get a general, let's call it a T12, the trailing 12 months. Yeah. And I can look through their financials, you can make a decision almost immediately. Hey, I want to put this under contract. Yeah, because you have 60 days to close it. You're not getting married. You're entering into an agreement of, hey, based on what you've showed me, assuming that we can prove this is all true, we like this price and we like these terms, and we'll move forward. And you have tons of time to adjust.
Yeah, but don't you have to think in your head, what's the debt service going to be? Yeah. Because if the rent roll doesn't cover the debt service, it's ain't a deal. It's
never going to work.
And if you can, I say 60 at pushing it. I'd like to be 50-50. Mm-hmm. What's the formula? Like, in other words, if the debt service is going to be $50,000 a month, I better see $100,000 a month coming from rent.
So that would be, what you're really looking for is DSCR. It's debt service coverage ratio. So it is your net operating income. Yeah. And how well does that actually service your debt, like as a ratio? So what banks want to see is about a 1.25 typically. So I cover 100% of my debt. After all of my expenses, there's another 25% of what I owe that I have as discretionary earning, and business would be called seller's discretionary income.
Okay, so for simple math, it's 75% then. Because if you have 1.25, it's 100% of the debt. So what I'm saying is, if the payment on the debt's going to be $50K, then
you'd want to see.
Then I'd want to know that the rent roll was at least $50K and another $25. So, or 25 grand. So it's 100%.
Yeah.
Plus maybe 25%.
Yeah. Well, beyond the rent roll though, you really want net operating income. So you want income minus expenses is going to be, if you do just the rent roll is only income. So I don't want to just look at top line income. I want to look at bottom line income and how does that bottom line operating compare to the debt
so
roll.
I look at the rent roll. What I meant is the financials.
Yeah, you mean the T12 or the P&L.
I want to know what's your EBITDA?
Yes, exactly. In business, I'm looking for what is our seller discretionary earnings, and that is what do we have to pay myself and pay my mortgage? Yeah,
because when I look at the numbers, I'm going to owe that bank $50,000 a month. If rent comes in at $100,000, but the net is $2,000, well, you're
not
screwed.
Gonna work.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, if I look and the rent roll is $100,000, 9 times out of 10, as long as I get that 100, I got the 50.
Yeah.
Now, if the expenses are 50, so there's nothing left, then I would look at the expenses. Like, what are they, first of all? Yeah. What if it's freaking stupid shit that you know is the owner taking money?
Which is great, because that can all play into your negotiations, because it's like, oh, good, there's a bunch of fluff in here. I'll still run my own books. Now, when you're new, you're not allowed to make those assumptions. Like, on your first deal, you don't just assume like, oh, I don't need that expense, because what you find out is, oh shit, maybe there's a reason this was on here. When you have a little bit, you've done this a few times, I can look at those. I'm buying a deal right now, 76 units. They're 3 and 4 bed, pool, clubhouse, paved park. It's beautiful.
How much you need for it?
We are raising $2 million. $2 million, that's it. Gorgeous property. When we are buying this deal, oh, by the way, $2 million is super easy to raise for that type of deal. It's like we're buying nice real estate, but you go and buy. Oh man, I lost my point. I got all excited about the deal, dude. When we were buying these, it is so fun to get into some of these deals, and it's like, okay, we need to raise $2 million. This deal's gonna, some of these you look at them, it's like we're gonna double everyone's money on this deal. It's some of these.
How long does it take? Like, let's say I gave you the $2 million.
Yeah.
If I gave you the $2 million, it'd be my deal.
If you gave me the $2 million. But I found the deal. I managed the deal. This was my point. The operation. So me as an operator, if anyone else bought this deal in Stephenville, Texas, the fluff in their thing, they have way too many employees. Way too many employees on site. They're a California-based company. They have multiple maintenance, multiple leasing officers. They all live on site. It's their only asset in town. It's a 76-unit building. I own 95 other buildings there, and my property management company is based in that town. I don't need on-site maintenance because I have a maintenance team that services. I'm playing zone, not man-to-man. I have an operating plan that will cost me a lot less because I have efficiencies. I can write that. I'm going to negotiate on all of their fluff, which is how I got such a good price. But when we come in and operate, our net operating income looks a lot higher because I'm going to cut a lot of that.
Which increases the value of the property.
Which it does. Now, there's a certain point where a bank's going to look at it. If you save too much cost, banks are going to go, this is unrealistic, even if it is real. But for me, I'm like, we have an operating plan that absolutely works for this building. We have actual numbers. We seasoned that for a few years, that size building. The building's just worth a heck of a lot more.
And then do you take your equity and run, or do you borrow against it and go buy more property?
Now, what I typically do, I like the real estate to buy the real estate. I've always done this. I liked borrowing against it one time to buy out the investors. So I do a cash out refinance. We take even the creative stuff. We take the creative stuff to the bank. We pull the money out, say goodbye to our investors. Here's all your money. Good job. By the way, if you want to invest in the next deal, I heard you might be liquid, as you hand them the check and you move on. So I have the buildings buy out my partners.
But if I'm a partner, that's my money that's buying me out.
If you're a partner, so keep it super even numbers, for example. It's $1 million. We get a seller finance 10% down. We have a baller deal. You put in $100,000. I have a buyout that says I can buy you out in the next 3 years for $200,000. I refinance. You've doubled your money as an investor. You're happy. Now we can reverse that. If we want to do the deal together, and I found the deal and I'm operating the deal and I put together the capital and I line up. If you're coming in for the last 10%, right? I've already 90% of the money's figured out, the deal, everything's there. We have the team, the operations. So if you're coming in as the investor in this, you're like, I want to own this building. You can negotiate the opposite. Okay. You put in $100,000. All of this happened because of all my work. And sure, why don't you buy me out for $200 out of a cash out refi? I could be fine making $200,000. You'd say no. That wouldn't, yeah. I would be unlikely to do that. But if I spent $0 and I did what I did, and I was like, okay, my salary in this small $1 million deal was $200,000, like that's my return. That doesn't suck, and now I have $200,000. I wouldn't be opposed to that if there was a project where someone's like, what if I bought you out? Like,
do you need a construction team and management team? Do you need all that?
No,
because if I go out and buy my first deal, am I going to be sitting there collecting rent?
No, too many people do that. That's why you need to buy one. Don't buy a tiny building. Just skip that phase.
Oh, it sounds like I want to buy about a 75 unit.
That would be a great target.
Yeah, but then again, I'm by myself. I do not have construction workers. I don't have workers to go in there and recarpet shit. Yep. I'm like, dude, now I'm sitting there and when someone calls with a broken toilet, I'm like, call a plumber.
No, on that size building, that is just part of your operating expenses. You have a management team, and that is the interview for the management team. I have this construction project. How are you going to handle it? How are you going to bid it? Where am I going to get nickel and dimed on this? I don't want to pay a bunch of trip fees for some random guy to come out from 2 counties over.
But when you started, dude, you didn't have a team. How'd you develop the team?
You start with the asset and you build out the team. Part of starting a business, you have to freaking start the business. When I worked at the CoStar Group, they would always say this as just company direction. I love this. It's just ready, shoot, aim. As an entrepreneur, it's like, okay, I know where I'm headed. Let's fire. Let's see how close we got to the mark, and let's hone it on in. I don't like wasting a lot of time on, hey, I'm going to go figure out the accounting team and the property manager and the lawyer, and the people waste all of their time reading these real estate books. And it just tells you, oh, build your team, You're not going to have investors if you don't have a deal. You're not going to have a property manager if you don't own any property. You don't need a CPA if you only have a W-2. Buy the deal and build the team. I bought the 38. I did a lot of the work myself. I went through my first 3 contractors on that. 2 of them sucked. 1 of them were good. We got screwed on a couple of units, but we spread it out over the project, figured out who my guy was. We built the team.
So you're just saying get in there and do it.
Yeah. With good analytics and some amount of planning and caution. But yes, don't spend forever trying to build the perfect business. The main questions that I get from new investors are the least important things. Well, where's the money coming from? The money for what? You don't have a deal. Do I need to file an LLC now? What are you putting in the LLC? You don't have a deal.
So why don't I just, again, use my podcast, use my social media to say, send me deals? Because it sounds like finding the deal is the hardest part.
Finding the deal takes the most time. I wouldn't say it's particularly hard, but that is at least the way I do it. It's a relationship game. You're not going to look on the market and be like, there's a deal we're going to buy right now. It's going to take you a few months. You build up a rhythm and a momentum, and as your network expands, it becomes easy.
Well, how about this, folks? Everybody listening, if you got a deal, if you own a building or a property that you don't want or that you want to sell, or maybe you just inherited, or maybe you know somebody in your family that has one, it's not on the market, send me a DM and I'll buy it.
Send Brad your deals. Brad, make sure someone on your team knows what the hell they're
doing. I'm
going
to call you.
There we go. You can call me.
I know a lot of people doing it. I could call a lot of people actually, but every time, and I've said this before, and I do get DMs, but then I always go, like at one time someone sent me a DM. It was, I forget where, like Arkansas or some shit.
Yeah.
And I thought, damn, dude, cool. Maybe I'll go buy this. So I sent it to, I forget who it was, to someone that was on the show that was in multifamily. And he goes, I'd stay away from that deal. And I'm like, why? And he had told me why. And I'm like, fuck. And so I told the dude, yeah, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Like I would have bought it, but then I would have been screwed because I don't have the experience. And I think that's what stops most people.
Yeah.
So it didn't stop you though. You just figured it out. But don't make the
mistake I made with my resorts. Like I didn't work with anyone who knew what they were doing on my resort. When I started with multifamily, even my first partner, he's a 22-year-old, but he'd already done 30 units in that town.
So wouldn't your best advice be for someone wanting to learn is like, get a hold of you, get a little education first?
Oh, absolutely. You need to know on a basic level what your options are. I said deal debt equity. If you don't know how you structure debt, you're going to try to put together a deal one way and it's the same way everyone else looked at it and you don't have an opportunity.
So step one should be go get a little education.
I need to know when I see a deal that I'm looking at a deal. There's some inputs where you're like, how do I know what taxes are going to be after I close? How do I know what insurance? There's some things where it's like, okay, to actually analyze this deal, I need a little education. I'm talking a few months of education. This isn't a lifetime thing. You come in, you figure out when do I know a deal's a deal? You know that. What are my options to structure the debt? If there's remaining money to bring in, say raise another $1 million for something, what are the different ways that I can structure that as either debt or if we're bringing on partners, what equity structure are we going to do? There's preferred returns. There's I'm not going to.
Is this what you're teaching people?
Yeah.
You teach it in the beginning?
Yes. You need to know what levers you can pull to put the deal together. And there's not that many and it's not that hard. You go through each of the things in order. Okay, what is a deal? What debt options are available? What equity structures are common? You can get as creative as you want in them, but the answer to creative finance, and that's how I bought everything, because if you start with no money, you have to get creative. It is the simplest answer from A to B every single time. It's what is the least creative way that we can get creative and get this done? Every time I've got too creative on a deal, shot myself in the foot or forgot to do something. Like it's never a good idea. But that 38plex, the only thing that needed to be done is let's not have payments for 6 months. I'll pay you a down payment. Give me 6 months to get the income on this property up so that I can give you the $10,000 you requested. That was the only thing.
And if you fail,
they get the property back that I've put $0. Now in that case,
but
you brought in investors. But you don't lose money.
Yeah, but you took 6 months of my rent roll. Because once I make the deal.
Oh, no, that's absolutely true. You have to be solving a legitimate problem for them. The problem is they've failed to solve their own rent roll. I've come in with a plan of, I'm fixing your rent roll. Your worst case scenario as the seller is I paid you $300,000 and I made a big attempt to get that. You better believe the 2 kids in their 20s buying this building are going to do everything in their power to not lose it in those 6 months. I'm like, do you really believe this is going to be in a worse condition in 6 months? And lo and behold, it worked. And we were really confident going into this too, because this was at 2019, 2020, 2021 zone where we still had the government would still pay a bunch of back due rent. So we were able to get that relief fund and get in there right off the bat for all the delinquent tenants. We got 3 months of arrears, 3 months in the future. So I got like half a year of income at the end of month 1.
See, sounds like you just got lucky.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, if it's just lucky. You roll enough dice, you're always lucky, right?
I mean, you pick up the phone, the guy's willing to do this. Pick up the phone, the guy's willing to do that. Hey, just walked in. We got half a year's worth of rent. What's the downside? What can happen if you don't know what you're doing?
If you don't know what you're doing, you raise $300,000 from 3 people you don't know, and you lose all their money. Sure, the owners made whole, right? They get their building back. You just brought in $300,000. We've seen this happen all over the market, especially when interest rates spiked. People who were borrowing on variable rate debt, a bunch of them got wiped out. They had to go back to their investors and ask for more money to mitigate the losses. It wasn't even to secure the gain. They're like, hey, we need to raise more capital so we don't lose this deal, so you guys lose less money.
And it was all because of the interest rate going up.
It's because people didn't lock in their variables.
So if you're doing creative financing and the owner's the bank,
you create your own debt product. If the deal's not cash flowing and they're locked in on price, you can either borrow less money or you can borrow cheaper money. That's the only way to increase cash flow, which means put more down, get a lower price, which often isn't the answer, or you borrow cheaper money. Say, hey, I want this deal works, but I need 4% interest. And 4% interest isn't that helpful if it's a 1-year debt product because you built all your value in the debt and now the debt's gone. So it has to be long-term, fixed rate. I know what my expenses are. So when I buy a deal that has income day 1, my income has gone up. There's 2 questions. I'll keep it even simpler. There's only 2 questions to underwriting. How do you buy it? How do you never lose it? You answer both those questions, you've done it. How you buy it? What's the deal? How do you never lose it? Does it pay me forever to keep it?
A billionaire told me once, the trick to real estate is never sell.
That is very true.
Yeah, and I'm like, I get it now, but back then I was like, what do you mean? How do you make any money then?
Real estate's not get rich quick either. You can get paper rich in real estate. This is something I think people misrepresent all the time. And as a coach, a lot of people get online and try to sell this like, oh yeah, I made $1 million. Having $1 million of equity in real estate is not hard to do. I did that in my 20s on my 3rd deal, like just by itself. to actually be able to touch that money and use that money, it's easy. Is it just as easy to lose the equity with the market as it is to get it? So you get all these paper millionaires. To actually pull money out of real estate, it does take time. You have to season these.
What's the rough amount of time? 2 years?
2 years is where you really start seeing the money from it. Because even if you went to a bank to refinance, they'll want to see, hey, you just bought it for this price. They're going to use that price for the first year or two. They want to see your operations, how it's performing. It's not get rich quick. It's get rich a lot faster than I think a lot of other vehicles.
Is it as easy sometimes as buying it and then just sending a note to every tenant? Your rent's going up by $100. Don't like it, move out. And if they move out, fine. I just rent it to somebody else.
On occasion, that is the move. If it's a property that's just grossly under rent and that's why the deal worked, more often than not, I like to do this in 2 phases. You buy the deal. The first thing you do is if it's way under market rent, almost every time the landlord's done a bad job upkeeping the building. Like they're a slumlord. And so you have low rents, you have beat up buildings. First thing we do, all the maintenance requests immediately. I want to send the message that, hey, this is going to be different. So I solicit, hey, everyone who has a broken stove, toilet, door, whatever, submit your work orders. Then we do all those work orders. And what happens after that is you get a wave of everyone else going like, oh shit, they actually did do this. And then everyone gives you another wave of work orders. You finish those. Now you're 60 days in. Your tenants are like, okay, I ask for stuff. I get it. New management cares. The building's getting better. And then, yeah, you do a rent increase. If that's what the project requires, sometimes that is the right thing to do. You come in on the rent increase. And this is the part where people freak out online, right? Because they're like, oh, you're just jacking the rents. You're the problem. But it's a free market. You come in, we're just providing, hey, how do we provide great housing and great people? We need the correct amount of income for the correct asset so we can afford to make the building better, make it safe, and finish the project.
Sometimes we're installing lights.
Yeah.
In the parking lot, so it's not a freaking dimly lit danger zone.
Yeah. Sometimes I bought one of my heavier renovation projects. You can absolutely buy turnkey real estate this way, by the way. But I enjoy some of the projects that have a little bit more reno to them. Bought a failing motel. It already had a bunch of long-term tenants in there. There's no kitchens. People are just using their bathrooms. It's super slummy. Great location. Awesome for affordable housing. Our project, we came in, new paint, new floors, new light fixtures, redid the electric and the heat, installed kitchens. It didn't cost that much. Way better space. Rent went from like $300 a month to like $1,000 a month. We went incredible increase in value to the building. Relatively inexpensive renovation. You can actually do it pretty affordably. I think the government pays most of the leases in there.
Yeah, you're gonna need to know renovations pretty much, right?
You will need to get comfortable with it. You do not need to know renovations to start. Especially if you went after the owner relationships first, have other people in your court who know what they're doing, who can refer you to the right people. But to start becoming an investor, people try to add all these stupid steps. They're like, hey, I want to become a broker. I need to work in the field. I'm going to work for a property management company. I'm going to save up forever. You become an investor by investing in something. Like buy the building.
Well, I was going to say, hey, listen, if you guys are new, get up on Saturday, Google this, go talk to this. I was going to walk them through it. And in reality, I think the smartest move anyone can make is just freaking reach out and freaking start getting a little tutelage from you to where it's not just a little podcast advice.
Well, and to be fair, that's what I did, right? I went out to owners who've done the thing I want to do. And I've done it for free. I've done it paid. I've done it both ways. I've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to people to learn. It's worth it. But you get in and you find, hey, someone who has a method that resonates with you. You're like, this makes sense to me. Or I want to learn more about this, the way they're doing it. What I would stay away from is the people who only flash the, hey, I made it. There's a bunch of people who haven't bought a deal in 3 years. Maybe they did do a lot of real estate, but they're now just a coach.
Where do they go to get your training, your tutelage?
Multifamilystrategy.com. You can check it out on YouTube too. Multifamily Strategy on YouTube. If this is a method that resonates with you, if you're like, hey, I like the idea of buying a property that increases my income, and that's my rule. Like I must increase my income permanently on every deal. If that's something that makes sense to you, and you're like, hey, playing this with or without money sounds interesting. Yeah, hit me up. Even send me a DM on Instagram. I'll answer there. Christian Osgood.
Christian Osgood, folks. Dude, you're on your way. You look younger, but hey, congrats on your success. I'm glad you're kicking it.
Thank you very much.
Guys, listen, real estate's a hell of a freaking investment. It does take a little bit of time, but once you get it down, bro, it's a moneymaker. Like, you know, there you can go back in history, and that's probably one of the most secure investments ever.
Absolutely.
Until next time, folks, keep it real.